He don't want to fight a contender. He want to go right to
the belt.
So you know what that means? He's getting ready to retire.
Already?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Makhachev, he applies so much pressure. He's an elite grappler. I mean, they're both good in every areas. It's a great fight for the fan.
And I'm sure you were willing and ready to break that for us now. Who is main eventing that?
Well, I just announced some fights yesterday, and that wasn't one of them.
Yeah, there's a couple you didn't announce that people were kind of hyped for. There's some rumors. There was rumors that it was going to be Hamzat DDP. Turns out that doesn't look like it's true. There's now rumors it's going to be Ilia Topuria versus Islam. Is that
Well, we all know that fight's happening. The Duplessis versus Hamzat fight. It's happening. It's just not happening in International Fight Week. That fight's done. Just not happening now.
And Ilia Islam?
What's that?
Ilia versus Islam?
We'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
The tension in the lightweight division is rising with each passing day, and the fans are still waiting for confirmation about the Islam versus Topuria fight. However, when legends like Georges St-Pierre are excited about this matchup, Rampage Jackson has revealed something that nobody expected. Rampage Jackson thinks Ilia Topuria doesn't want to fight other top contenders, and just wants to go straight for the title. He believes that might mean Ilia is already thinking about retirement. Rampage also mentioned that Ilia talked about wanting to fight in a huge, well-known arena in Spain that holds 80,000 people, something he brought up during his appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast.
He don't want to fight a contender. He want to go right to
the belt.
So you know what that means? He's getting ready to retire.
Already?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. After he does that, he's going to retire.
Well, you have a point there because he has been talking about wanting to fight in a very famous Spanish arena that holds 80,000 people. He obviously said that on Joe Rogan.
However, Georges St-Pierre is very excited about the idea of Islam Makhachev facing Ilia Topuria. He praised Topuria's knockout power, saying that when he lands clean, his opponents usually go down. On the other hand, he highlighted Makhachev's intense pressure and elite grappling skills, noting that he dominates his opponents with a well-rounded style. GSP emphasized that both fighters are dangerous in all areas, whether it's striking, grappling, or overall fight IQ. He believes this matchup would be a true clash of styles and a high-level contest that fans around the world would love to see.
Topuria, when he touches, it falls, you know, and on the other side, Makhachev, he applies so much pressure. He's an elite grappler. I mean, they're both good in every areas. It's a great fight for the fans.
Meanwhile, Dana White still has not given any update about the confirmation of this fight. During a recent fight card announcement, everyone wanted to get some updates about the fight between Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev, but Dana White kept things vague. He teased the idea by checking his notes, but ultimately said there was nothing official to announce yet. He told everyone to stay tuned, leaving fans guessing about what's next.
All right, let me see. Do I have another one to announce here? No, I don't. So stay tuned. Have a great day.
On the other hand, Topuria is feeling confident to fight in the lightweight division. Topuria warned everyone that when he steps into the cage at 155 pounds, he feels extremely powerful. He said he doesn't even need to hit his opponent's chin, and just touching their head would be enough to knock them out. He added that he feels solid on the ground and is ready to wrestle if needed. Topuria also made it clear that his cardio is no issue, saying he has enough gas to go for 5 days, not just 5 rounds.
You are gonna see me at 155 that I'm gonna touch someone and I'm gonna take his lights out. Even if I don't need to touch his chin. I just touch his head and it will explode. I feel so powerful at that weight class. So powerful, so stable in the ground. Like, do you wanna wrestle? Let's wrestle. No problem. And I have the gas tank for 5 days, not 5 rounds.
Meanwhile, the lightweight star Dustin Poirier shared his thoughts on the lightweight division, saying everything at the top is still uncertain. During a recent interview with Ariel Helwani, he mentioned that Ilia Topuria could end up fighting Charles Oliveira, but also said his best guess is a matchup between Ilia and Islam Makhachev. He thinks that would be a massive fight, especially if it happens during International Fight Week. As a fan, he said he'd be excited to see it and believes it would be the perfect setup for Makhachev to move up to welterweight afterward.
I'm also curious, and I think a lot of people are, and I just wanted to get your take. How do you think the cookie crumbles here at the top of the 55 division? Do you think it ends up being Ilia versus Islam, Ilia versus Charles? It's all very much up in the air.
Man, your guess is as good as mine. I say do Ilia versus Islam, International Fight Week, huge card, huge fight. Everybody's going to be excited about that. Me as a fan, I'm excited about seeing that. So do that International Fight Week. That's a huge week to set it up and a great fight.
Dustin Poirier further shared his thoughts on Islam Makhachev potentially moving up to welterweight, saying he believes Islam would do well in that division. He described Makhachev as a strong, solid fighter with a high-level skill set that can match up with anyone. While Poirier admitted that some welterweights might be bigger, he doesn't think size will be a major issue for Islam. He believes Makhachev would fit in just fine at 170 pounds and could even compete for the title.
And Islam moves on to 170. Do you think he'll have success at 170? You know him well.
Yeah, he's big. He's a good sized guy, and his skill set is the highest level to compete with anybody. It's not like he's going to be hugely undersized at 170. There's going to be some guys who are bigger than him for sure, but he's strong and solid. I think he'll fit in good. He'll probably be the champ there.
Wow. Okay. You think he can? You think he can get that second title?
Yeah, I do.
Moreover, there is a big chance that Islam might move up to the welterweight division to get his second belt. But Charles Oliveira's manager Diego Lima says Islam Makhachev should vacate the lightweight title if he moves to welterweight. He said that if Makhachev does move up, the UFC will likely ask him to choose between staying at lightweight or giving up the title, just like they might with Ilia Topuria. Lima believes it's wrong to hold up a division. If a champion wants to move up, they should either vacate the belt or the UFC should create an interim title. He feels the division needs to stay active because many fighters work hard to earn their shot, and once someone becomes champion, they shouldn't just sit on the title and stop the division from moving forward.
Você diz o quê? Se o Makhachev sobe?
Se o Makhachev sobe, é.
Não, ele perdeu o cinturão. Se ele, é que nem o Topuria. Eu acho que o UFC vai falar pra ele, ó, escolhe. Agora, se for pra ele, não, vou lutar, aí com certeza vão fazer um interino. Porque não tem como você travar uma categoria. Eu acho, particularmente falando, acho absurdo travar uma categoria. Eu acho que quando o atleta sobe, ou ele tem que largar o cinturão dele, e a segunda opção, na minha opinião, seria fazer um interino. Mas eu acho que quando o lutador sobe, eu acho que quando o lutador começa a demorar pra pensar no que vai fazer, eu já acho que tem que abrir, talvez. Aí sim eu acho que talvez teria que abrir um interino. Porque eu acho que a categoria tem que girar, cara. Você entendeu? Às vezes, eu acho que assim, os lutadores eles lutam muito pra chegar no cinturão. E quando chegam, eles querem sentar em cima do cinturão. E não é assim, cara.
On the other hand, Javier Mendez says Islam Makhachev could join Demetrius Johnson and John Jones as one of the most well-rounded fighters of all time. He stated that Islam Makhachev is the most well-rounded fighter in the lightweight division. Still, he explained that he doesn't consider him the greatest of all time yet, mainly because of Demetrius Johnson, who he thinks is truly incredible. Mendez also mentioned John Jones as another example of an unbelievably well-rounded fighter, but he emphasized that Islam stands out specifically in the lightweight division.
I've heard Ali, his manager, said that he's the most well-rounded fighter of all time, and I've been saying he's the most well-rounded fighter in the lightweight division. And the reason why I don't go all time, and only because of Demetrius. I think Demetrius is unbelievable. So for me,
but what about John Jones?
John Jones is another unbelievable, well-rounded guy. But in the lightweight division, I can easily say Islam
for sure.
Is hands down. And I've been saying that a long time.
Mendez believes John Jones and Johnson are the two fighters in contention for that title. However, he admits that Islam Makhachev is on track to be one of the greatest. He acknowledged that it's impressive to even put Islam in the same conversation, and believes if he keeps going at his current pace, he could very well become the greatest of all time. He feels it's a good problem to have, and that Islam would truly deserve it if it happens.
Nah, there's two guys that are in contention for that title, and that is John Jones and that's Demetrius, but having Islam in that category, it's unbelievable, because at the rate he's going, if he continues going, he could very well end up becoming the GOAT. It's a good possibility. It's a good possibility that could happen, and he would have earned it. So let's see. But it's a good problem to be in.
The bantamweight champion Merab Dvalishvili thinks Islam should fight Ilia Topuria next. He said Topuria is a well-known name who has vacated his belt to fight for the lightweight title, and Islam should accept this fight. Merab believes Ilia Topuria is no longer a featherweight, and Islam shouldn't be worried that he is fighting a small guy, as Topuria is a true lightweight and probably one of the biggest names out there.
Do you think Ilia should get the fight against Islam?
Well, that's is the fight to make for him. He vacated the belt.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, two champions.
He gave it up.
Yeah. He's saying he's not anymore on featherweight. He's flyweight and then he's champion. You have like I know Islam saying first fight he say, oh, I don't want to fight small guys, but what's funny, Ilia is fucking the biggest name.
180 right now, you're saying that, yeah. I think it's crazy.
In another interview, Merab Dvalishvili said that Ilia Topuria should fight Islam Makhachev, especially since Ilia vacated his featherweight title and is now the most deserving contender at lightweight. He pointed out that Islam seems to be ignoring him. Merab also recalled how Islam once told him in a press conference that a champion should fight the real contenders.
So Ilia has to fight Islam Makhachev, especially he vacated his belt and he's not anymore 145 and he's the best deserving contender for the 155 belt, but somehow Islam ignoring him. I'm sure you guys, everybody remember that Islam told me only press conference.
Merab, I don't have nothing for you, just respect. But when you have some real contender, just fight.
And I said, of course.
Merab Dvalishvili further pointed out that Islam Makhachev now has a top contender in Ilia Topuria, but he's not taking the fight and is giving other reasons instead. Merab said that everyone agrees Ilia deserves the title shot and he hopes the fight happens soon.
Now he has the top contender as a Ilia Topuria, but he's not fighting because he's saying some other things.
However, Arman Tsarukyan believes that Islam Makhachev is avoiding a fight with Ilia Topuria because if he wins, people will say Islam only beats fighters from the 145-pound division and isn't facing top contenders. Tsarukyan thinks that if Islam beats him, he would have defeated everyone in the lightweight division and could then move on. He also mentioned that the fight might not happen unless Islam decides to stay in the division.
I think he gave the he left 145 because of that, because they said, okay, we're gonna give you title fight.
I heard it's like Islam saying that he's not fighting, right?
Islam doesn't want to fight him because if he wins him, people are gonna say, okay, you again beat 145 fighters and he's not number one contender. If Islam beats me, and then I think he's done with this division. He beat everybody. Just he gotta beat me, and then people can say that.
So what? They're gonna sign that fight? Is it coming?
If he doesn't move, yeah.
So there is a lot of debate going on about the size difference between Islam and Topuria, but Chael Sonnen ruled out this opinion, saying there is not a big size difference between lightweight and featherweight. Chael Sonnen argues that Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria have nearly the same weight with only a 10-pound difference. He compares this to Muhammad Ali, who was 198 pounds as a heavyweight champion, and to George St. Pierre, who defeated the heavier Michael Bisping. Chael questions the claim that Ilia has no chance against Islam, calling it an extreme statement. He challenges anyone who believes the larger fighter has an advantage to point to a historical example, noting that wrestlers know the toughest opponent is often the top fighter from one weight class below. Carlos Prates sees the fight as either a 50-50 matchup or slightly leaning 60-40 in favor of Islam Makhachev. He recognizes Makhachev's well-rounded skill set, strong cardio, striking, grappling, and overall physical strength. Prates believes the key will be whether Ilia Topuria can consistently defend takedowns and land heavy shots, noting that few fighters can sustain that pace over 5 full rounds.
Bro, I think it's maybe 50-50, you know, that fight. Or maybe 60-40 to Islam Makhachev, because he's really good. He's having a really good cardio, really good, really strong. Really good. His striking is good also, and also he's good grappler. It's gonna depend how long Topuria gonna stay like defense takedown and keep it hitting really hard, you know. And I think not too many guys can do that by 5 rounds.
Similarly, Daniel Rodriguez also views the fight as a significant challenge for Ilia Topuria and leans toward Islam Makhachev as the likely winner. While he respects Topuria's shocking victory over Max Holloway, he questions whether Topuria's power will translate to the lightweight division. Citing his connections in the division and experience, the UFC welterweight ultimately picks Makhachev to come out on top.
That's a big step up. That's a big step up for Ilia, and I'm gonna have to go with Makhachev on the thing. You know, got a couple title defense here, and I don't feel like, even though Ilia, you know, did put out, you know, Max Holloway, which is a big shocker. I just don't think he might have that power in the lightweight division.
Moreover, Matt Brown also shared his verdict on this fight. He said he would give the title shot to Ilia Topuria. He thinks Islam Makhachev will try to avoid that matchup, which is understandable. However, Brown feels no other fighter has clearly earned the shot either, which is why there are still 4 names being discussed for the opportunity. Matt Brown stated, "I give it to Ilia. Islam will try for that not to be the fight. Rightfully enough, I think he should, but I don't feel like anybody else has done anything significant to be just clear. That's why there's 4 of them." Matt Brown further said that no one has stood out enough to clearly deserve the next title shot. He thinks Ilia Topuria should be given the chance. If it goes well for him, the UFC could end up with an even bigger star in Ilia. Matt Brown added, "No one has stuck out so much that you're like, okay, this guy should get the fight. I say give the opportunity to Ilia. Go see if it works for him. If it does, then you have an even more ginormous star in Ilia." Meanwhile, Chael Sonnen believes Ilia Topuria is doing the right things to position himself as the next contender. He emphasized that if Topuria wants to stay active and continue making a name for himself, he needs to keep fighting, as fighters don't get regular deposits like other jobs. Sonnen also mentioned that a fight with Paddy Pimblett could make a big impact. However, he thinks if the UFC wanted a champion versus champion matchup, they would have set it up while both were still holding titles. Waiting for one to lose their belt and then rebooking the fight might not have the same effect.
Topuria is doing all the right stuff by aligning himself to be next. And if he wants to stay busy, he is a prize fighter. We don't get weekly or bi-weekly deposits into the account. You got to go out there and you got to do the fight. And if he is looking for something big that people want to see, he has found that in Paddy Pimblett. That really would make things a lot bigger. I just believe if the UFC was going to match up champion versus champion, they would have made that match when it was champion versus champion. Wants to wait till one of them is no longer a champion and then reemerge with the same idea, that would be a little bit weird.
Well, the debate and predictions for this fight will continue until it gets confirmed, and the fans can only wait for that. Nevertheless, whether Rampage Jackson is right or not, his comments have sparked a fresh wave of debate about Ilia Topuria's mindset and future. As Topuria continues his climb, only time will tell if retirement is truly on his mind or if he's just getting started. One thing's for sure, the MMA world will be watching closely.